Okay everyone, I know it's been a long time since the last video in this series. And I sincerely apologize that it has taken this long to release, but hopefully this will satisfy those of you who have been waiting for the past several months. In the previous episode, we examined the life and times of Charlie Montague, the game master and chief systems administrator of the Eon program. Now, in this brand new episode of Deathlore, a Deathloop lore series that explores the history and background of the game and its story and characters, we will be examining our next target, Ramblin Frank Spicer, a legendary musician and rock star from the mainland and head of recruitment for the Eon program. Frank Spicer in the outside world was a renowned musical celebrity, and he amassed a large number of fans and followers based off the popularity of his hit songs. You can even listen to a few of his songs playing on the island's local radio station. Songs like Lady S, The Revenant, Ode to Somewhere, and You Have No Class were immensely popular on the mainland and among his fan base, and continue to be popular among the Eternalists on Black Reef. Many of his songs are based on stories or experiences from his personal life, as he loves to elaborate on these moments during his radio show that plays every morning on Black Reef, Ramblin Frank's Matinee. While on tour, traveling through over 80 cities in 80 nights, his vocal cords were severely damaged and unfortunately beyond repair due to heavy usage of drugs and alcohol. He also became embroiled in legal troubles during this time due to his direct involvement in what became known as the Kartova incident. There are many accounts of this confrontation, but from Frank's perspective, before he was set to play at the Grand Hotel in Kartova, a man made a snide remark to Frank, and Frank then countered with a snide remark of his own, only to later find his band's piano player beaten half to death in a nearby bathroom. Furious and beside himself, Frank located the man responsible, who just happened to be the man mentioned earlier, and brutally murdered him in broad daylight. Frank was then placed in the local prison and was set to appear at a court hearing when eventually he crossed paths with Alexis Dorsey, who managed to secure his release from prison due to his financial connections and brought Frank into the group that became the Eon program. His ultimate goal was to try and see if the time loop would restore his voice to its original and impeccable quality, while also reigniting his career after serving jail time. Did he succeed? Not really.
Give that an eyeball.
As the head of recruitment for the Eon program, Frank was the one primarily responsible for gathering together his own legion of fans, as well as random people from all walks of life, including maximum security prisons, and bringing them into the fold as Eternalists, with the promise that once you arrive on Black Reef, you are equal to everyone else. No one person would be placed on a pedestal, except for the Visionaries, of course. Part of his job as head of recruitment meant weeding out the snakes from the garden, so to speak. So he and Colt both interrogated and executed potential dissenters from the ranks of the Eternalists in a hidden boathouse underneath the Ramblin Rock Club. By the time Colt arrives there during the events of the game, one of the Eternalists will be there waiting to fill the interrogation room with poisonous gas as retaliation for both Colt and Frank's crimes. This particular revolution paints Frank and especially Colt in a much darker light. So now you know a little bit about his background, but who is Frank Spicer really? Well, Frank would tell you that he's probably the greatest musician that ever lived. He would say that he shines in the spotlight and is adored by the largest army of fans a celebrity in this world could have. He's also got a mean right hook and a penchant for booze. Frank also thinks much more highly of Colt than the other Visionaries, finding a kindred spirit in him and potentially even a romantic partner at one point in time, something that is heavily hinted at during the course of of Colt's interactions with Frank. The truth about Frank, though, is that he honestly is one of the least despicable Visionaries, which isn't really saying much, but still. He stood up for Colt during some of the first days on Blackreef, with many of the Visionaries thinking that Colt was not mentally fit to be among them due to his time in a mental institution and his previous prolonged exposure to the effects of the Blackreef anomaly. He even gave Colt his own penthouse suite right in the heart of the Updom district, something more befitting of Colt's station as a former high-ranking military officer. When confronting Frank at his Ramblin Rock Club in the morning at Fristad Rock, his demeanor is one of sadness and disbelief that his good friend would try to destroy everything they worked so hard for. Frank also tends to lean towards paranoia surrounding the more supernatural elements of the time loop, specifically the slabs granted to the Visionaries by Dr. Wenji Evans. Each slab carried by a given Visionary is representative and emblematic of their personality, and for Frank, he was gifted with the Fugue slab, giving him the ability to force anyone on the island into a drunken stupor for a short time, a fitting ability for someone who is notorious for being a heavy drinker. Frank, however, rejected this power, finding it to be far too much for him to handle. He is even chastised by Harriet Morse, another of the Visionaries, for willingly depriving himself of this power that she views as a blessing. Frank also went to great lengths to ensure that no one else would endanger him in any way by hiring Charlie Montague to create the Class Pass, a device that attaches itself to the back of your hand, disabling all slab abilities, including Colt's Reprise, while inside Frank's compound, which obviously presents an interesting gameplay challenge when going after Frank during a given loop. Frank has no care for these supernatural powers. He's far more competent with a firearm, and the weapon that Frank carries on his person just happens to be one of the most unique items on Blackreef, the Constancy Automatic, an SMG with twin magazines that has the unique ability to fire and reload at the same time. You can literally lay down on the trigger with this gun for a solid length of time before having to worry about running out of ammo. Frank's Fugue slab can be retrieved at the garbage disposal facility in Carl's Bay during the afternoon, because apparently Frank thought throwing away the slab was a good idea instead of actually physically destroying it. Frank's not really the smartest Visionary though, so it's fitting that he would carelessly toss his slab away like it was nothing more than a piece of paper. The garbage collector is in possession of the Fugue slab by the time the story of Deathloop begins, but this is no ordinary Eternalist. He is outfitted with heavy military-grade armor, probably left over from the army of the Motherland and their time spent on Blackreef. Defeating the garbage collector requires patience, ingenuity, and lots, and I mean lots, of bullets and explosions. Unless, of course, you can finish him off quietly. The Fugue slab itself is most useful for stealth gameplay, as you can use it to quickly sneak past one Eternalist or even a full group if you're able to combine it with the Nexus slab. Frank's Achilles heel might not be obvious at first, but it is fitting for a showman like himself. Frank loves to put himself and his talent on display, and during the time loop, he does this by providing a large fireworks show from a remote location on Fristad Rock for onlookers to admire from afar. It is certainly a sight to behold, as the bursting lights contrast against the evening sky of Blackreef. However, it also proves to be Frank's ultimate weakness, as Colt can break into the fireworks storage in Carl's Bay and sabotage the light show, sending out Frank with a literal bang, crossing one more Visionary off the hit list and coming one step closer to breaking the loop. So these are the things that you should know about Ramblin' Frank Spicer, his personality, his background, and his role within the Eon program. But now I want to know what you think about this rambling man. Is he one of your favorite Visionaries to contend with, or one of your least favorite? Who would you want to see me examine in the next episode? Sound off in the comments down below. If you you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like and share the video with other members of the Bethesda and Arcane Outsiders community. It really helps the channel to grow and get noticed. Consider subscribing to the channel for more Deathloop content like this, and be sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And remember that the Outsider walks among us. Thanks for watching, everyone.